The room was quiet when Ethan heard the message. It was from Lyra, his alien friend. Her voice shook, almost breaking. "Human, I need you. It is something I cannot ask anyone else." Ethan frowned. Lyra had never sounded so desperate before. She was always calm, always strong. But now, her words carried fear. When he met her, she stood in the shadows, her silver eyes glowing softly. She leaned closer and whispered, almost afraid someone might hear, "It is my mating season, and only you can help me." Ethan froze. His mind raced. Why him? What did she mean? And why did her voice carry both fear and hope before he could speak? Lyra added in a trembling voice, "If you refuse, both of us may not survive what comes next." The air turned heavy. Ethan realized this was no ordinary request. Ethan sat alone in his small room, reading through old notes from work, when his communicator blinked with a soft light. The signal was unusual, coming from a frequency he rarely saw. Curious, he opened the message. A familiar voice filled the air, but it was not steady. It was trembling, almost breaking. "Human, I need you. Please meet me. It is something I cannot ask anyone else." Ethan froze, his heart beating faster. The voice was Lyra's. She was his alien friend, someone he had met months ago during a trade mission. Lyra was always calm, always composed, always carrying herself with the quiet strength of her people. Hearing her like this was strange, even frightening. She sounded desperate, as if something heavy pressed on her. He did not wait. He left his room and walked quickly through the quiet station halls. The lights flickered above him, and the silence of the night shift made the place feel colder than usual. Ethan reached the meeting spot Lyra had named a small observation deck, hidden on the edge of the colony. The wide glass windows showed the stars burning bright, endless and eternal. There she was. Lyra stood near the glass, her tall figure covered in a simple dark cloak. Her silver eyes caught the light, glowing softly. But tonight they seemed different. They held a storm inside them. When she turned to look at him, Ethan noticed her hands shaking slightly, something she would usually never allow others to see. "You came," she whispered, her voice low. "Of course I came." Ethan answered, trying to sound calm. "Your message, it didn't sound like you." "What is going on?" Lyra looked around, as if afraid someone might be listening. She stepped closer to him, the soft glow from her skin faint but noticeable. For a moment, she stayed silent. Then, she leaned forward, her words almost too soft to hear. "It is my mating season," she whispered, her eyes not leaving his. "And only you can help me." Ethan blinked, confused, almost certain he had heard wrong. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. He had expected many things, a warning, a mission, maybe even danger from her world, but not this. Seeing his silence, Lyra's face softened, though the fear in her eyes remained. "I would not ask if there was another way," she said. "Among my kind, this season is difficult. We must bond, or the energy inside us grows wild, out of control. If left unchecked, it harms not only us, but those near us too." Ethan took a slow breath, trying to understand. He had studied alien cultures before, but nothing like this. He shook his head. "But why me? Don't you have your own people? Why not ask them?" Her lips curved into a faint, sad smile. "Because I trust you," she said, "and because my people would not accept it. They see me as strong, untouchable. To show them weakness would mean losing everything I have worked for. But you see me differently." Ethan felt her words sink into him. He had never thought much about how others looked at her, but he did remember the loneliness in her eyes when she thought no one was watching. "You must understand," Lyra continued, her voice almost breaking now. "This is not simple. If you refuse me, I will have to face it alone, and I do not know if I will survive it." Her last words hung in the air, heavy and cold. Ethan's chest tightened. He had never seen her like this, so vulnerable, so afraid. She had always been the one to stand tall, to shield others. Now she was standing before him, asking for help, asking for trust. The silence between them stretched on. The stars outside glittered against the glass, like 1,000 watching eyes. Ethan's thoughts raced. He wanted to ask more questions, to understand the risks, but something in her gaze stopped him. Her silver eyes, filled with both fear and hope, told him this was more than a simple request. It was something deeper. Finally, Ethan spoke, his voice steady though his heart was not. "Tell me what I need to do." Lyra let out a slow breath, relief passing over her face. Though the tension did not leave her, she reached out and lightly touched his hand, a rare gesture from her kind. Her touch was warm, almost electric. "Come with me tomorrow night," she said softly. "I will show you. But you must promise me one thing, no matter what happens. You will not walk away." Ethan nodded slowly. "I promise." Her eyes searched his face, as if weighing his truth. Then, finally, she looked back at the stars. "Then it begins," she whispered. The night grew still, but the air between them carried a weight Ethan could not describe. He knew one thing for certain: whatever was coming, it would not be simple, and it would not be ordinary. Lyra's request had opened a door he could never close again, and somewhere deep inside, he felt that stepping through it would change both of their lives forever. The next evening came faster than Ethan expected. The colony was quiet, the long corridors filled with only the faint hum of machines. He walked with careful steps, his mind full of questions he could not answer. Why had Lyra chosen him? What exactly would happen? Each thought circled back to the same truth he had promised her, and there was no turning back. She was waiting at the edge of the colony gates, her cloak drawn tight, silver eyes shining faintly under the dim lights. When Ethan approached, she gave a small nod and led him without a word. They left the busy paths behind and entered the old passages that stretched far into the darker parts of the colony. Ethan felt the air change as they walked. The metal walls gave way to stone, smooth and glowing faintly with pale blue lines, as if light itself lived in the rock. The further they went, the stronger the glow became, painting their faces with shifting colors. Lyra walked with steady steps, but Ethan noticed her breathing grow uneven, as if the place itself was affecting her. After a long silence, Ethan finally asked, "Where are we going?" "To the sanctuary," she answered quietly. "It is where my people go during this time, but few ever see it. Even fewer are invited." Her words made him uneasy, yet curious. The passage widened into a vast chamber that took Ethan's breath away. The ceiling stretched high, covered in glowing vines that dripped with silver light. Pools of crystal water reflected the shine, and the air hummed with a low, steady vibration, like the place itself was alive. Ethan stepped closer to the pools, staring at the strange shapes that formed on the surface, like waves moving without wind. "This doesn't feel like any place I've ever seen," he whispered. "That is because it is not," Lyra replied. Her voice was softer here, almost reverent. "This sanctuary is older than my people's memory. We believe it was built to guide us, to keep our energy balanced during the season. Without it, we would not endure." Ethan looked at her, noticing how the light clung to her skin, making it shimmer faintly. She was different here, more radiant, almost fragile, yet powerful at the same time. He wanted to ask more, but a sudden sound stopped him. From the shadows, tall figures appeared, cloaked and silent. Their eyes glowed faintly as they observed Ethan. Their faces were unreadable, but their presence filled the chamber with quiet pressure. Lyra lowered her head slightly in respect. Ethan followed her lead, though his heart pounded. The tallest of the figures stepped forward, its voice deep and calm. "A human," it said slowly. "This has not happened for many cycles. Why bring him here, child?" Lyra lifted her gaze, firm but respectful. "Because I trust him, and because without him, I may not survive this season." The chamber grew quiet again. The other figures whispered softly to each other in a language Ethan could not understand. Their glowing eyes moved over him, cold and searching, as if weighing his very soul. Finally, the tall figure spoke again. "If he fails, both of you will fall. Are you prepared for that, human?" Ethan swallowed hard. He had no idea what was coming, but walking away was no longer possible. "I promised her," he said simply. The figure regarded him for a long moment before stepping back. "Then the sanctuary will judge you." With that, the figures faded into the shadows once more, leaving behind only the hum of the chamber. Ethan let out a slow breath, realizing his hands were shaking. Lyra placed her hand lightly on his arm. "Do not fear them. They are watchers, nothing more. Their duty is to see, not to decide." "That didn't feel like nothing," Ethan muttered. Though her touch steadied him, Lyra's expression softened. "I know this is strange for you, but soon, you will understand." She guided him to the center of the chamber where a circle of stones glowed faintly, each one pulsing like a heartbeat. "Stand here," she told him. "From this point forward, you cannot step away. The bond will either grow or break." Ethan stepped into the circle, the stones warming under his feet. The hum of the sanctuary grew louder, sensing with the rhythm of his chest. He looked at Lyra, who had stepped into the circle across from him. Her cloak slipped from her shoulders, and the glow of her skin grew brighter, threads of silver light rising around her like mist. "This is the beginning," she said, her voice both strong and trembling. "The sanctuary will draw out the truth between us. If your heart is false, it will reject you. If it is true, the bond will hold." Ethan's throat felt dry. "And if it rejects me?" Her eyes met his, deep and unblinking. "Then both of us will pay the price." The words struck him like cold water. He wanted to ask more, to demand answers, but the stones around them began to shine, cutting his questions short. The chamber filled with light, the hum turning into a low song that wrapped around them. Lyra's form seemed to blur, her glow growing brighter until Ethan could barely see her. He closed his eyes against the light, his chest heavy with fear and wonder. Whatever was happening, it was beyond his understanding. But one thing was clear: he had stepped into something far greater than himself, and there was no turning back. The light of the sanctuary wrapped around Ethan like a wave, warm but almost too strong to endure. He kept his eyes closed, trying to steady his breath, but the strange rhythm of the chamber began to press against him. It was as if his heart was no longer his own. Each beat matched the pulsing glow of the stones under his feet. When he opened his eyes, he saw Lyra standing across from him. Her silver glow had deepened, spreading across her skin like flowing rivers of light. Her hair, usually dark and smooth, shimmered as though threads of starlight had been woven into it. She looked otherworldly, almost untouchable, yet her eyes remained the same, calm, searching, fixed on him. "The bond is beginning," she said softly. Her voice was clear but carried a strange echo, as if the sanctuary itself repeated her words. Ethan swallowed hard. "What do I have to do?" "You are already doing it," she replied. "But you must not let go. No matter what you feel, no matter how heavy it becomes, you must stay with me." He nodded. Though his chest felt tight, the glow around her grew brighter, and he felt it reach across the circle, touching him like invisible hands. His skin prickled, warm currents running up his arms, into his chest. His breath caught, and for a moment, he thought he could hear her heartbeat inside. His mind fast and uneven. "Do you feel it?" she asked, her voice almost trembling now. "Yes," Ethan whispered. "It feels like I'm not myself anymore." Her eyes softened. "That is the bond. My energy is searching for yours. If they can join, it will steady me. If they cannot, the sanctuary will know." The pressure in the air thickened. Ethan felt his knees weaken as the glow wrapped tighter around him. His vision blurred, and shapes danced in the corners of his eyes, strange images, glimpses of places he had never seen, endless oceans, skies full of twin suns, towers rising higher than mountains. For a moment, he was certain he was seeing through her memories. He gasped, nearly stumbling, but Lyra raised her hand. Though she stood across from him, he felt her touch as clear as if she were holding him. "Stay with me," she said firmly, her voice carrying both command and plea. Ethan closed his eyes again, focusing on her words. The images grew stronger: her childhood in distant lands, the heavy weight of expectations from her people, the loneliness she carried when no one was watching. He felt her fears, her hopes, and the deep silence she lived with. His chest ached, but not from pain. It was as though her life was pressing against his own, asking him to accept it. And deep within, his own memories rose in answer. He saw flashes of Earth, his small home, the endless skies of his world, the laughter of friends long gone. He didn't push the images away. He let them flow, offering them to her, Lyra gasped softly, her silver light flaring brighter. "I see it," she whispered. "Your world, your heart. You are opening it to me." Ethan didn't answer, but he felt the connection growing stronger. The glow that linked them pulsed like a living thread, binding their hearts. It was strange, overwhelming, but also beautiful. Then the hum of the sanctuary changed. The sound grew deeper, vibrating through the stone floor, shaking the air. The watchers who had hidden in the shadows earlier stepped closer, their glowing eyes fixed on the circle. Ethan could feel their doubt pressing against him, sharp and cold. One of them whispered, though the words were meant for Lyra, "A human cannot endure this. He is too fragile. If he continues, he will break." Lyra's gaze hardened, never leaving Ethan. "He will not break," she said firmly, "because he is not fragile. He is human." The glow around them flared, answering her words. Ethan felt a surge inside his chest, stronger than before, like fire rushing through his veins. His breath grew ragged, but he held on, clinging to the thread of connection that tied him to her. For a moment, it felt as if the chamber itself stopped breathing. Time slowed, the glow around them freezing in place. Ethan's eyes met Lyra's, and in that instant, he felt a truth he could not put into words. They were no longer two separate beings. For those moments, they were one. But the stillness ended quickly. The glow rushed back, brighter and hotter, pressing harder against him. His body trembled, sweat gathering on his forehead, but he refused to let go. He remembered her words if he stepped away. Both of them would fall. Lyra's voice reached him again, steady and calm despite the storm around them. "You are doing it, Ethan. Do not stop now. The bond is not complete yet. But if you trust me, it will be." He clenched his fists, his legs heavy, his chest burning. But he nodded, not with words, but with his whole being. He would not leave. The glow swirled higher, reaching the ceiling, spilling across the chamber in rivers of light. The watchers stepped back, silent now, their whispers gone. The sanctuary's hum deepened into something like a song, and Ethan realized this was not only Lyra's test, it was his as well. Whatever was happening here, it was changing him. He could feel it deep inside, something awakening, something he did not yet understand. And though the weight pressed on him harder with every passing second, he knew one thing. With certainty, he would not let go. The glow slowly faded into the stone walls of the sanctuary, leaving a soft shimmer in the air. Ethan stood still, breathing heavily, his chest rising and falling as if he had been running for hours. Across from him, Lyra's light dimmed but did not vanish. Her silver eyes glowed brighter than ever, fixed firmly on him. For a long moment, silence held the chamber. Only the faint hum of the sanctuary remained, pulsing like a distant heartbeat. Ethan thought it was over, but then a voice broke the stillness. "This cannot be." From the shadows, the watchers stepped forward, their tall cloaked figures circling the glowing stones. Their eyes burned faintly, and their presence carried the weight of judgment. Ethan's chest tightened as they surrounded the circle, their whispers rising into the air. "He should not stand here. He is human, unshaped by the old ways. If she completes the bond with him, what will become of us?" The words stung even though they were not spoken directly to him. Ethan could feel their doubt, sharp as cold wind pressing against his back. He wanted to step away, but Lyra raised her hand gently. "Stay," she said softly. Her voice carried strength, calm and unshaken. "Do not let them move you." Ethan nodded, though unease knotted in his stomach. One of the watchers stepped closer, taller than the rest. Its voice was deep and steady, each word falling like a stone into still water. "Lyra of the Silver Line, what have you done? Why choose a human when your own stand ready?" Lyra lifted her head, meeting their gaze without fear. "Because my own would never understand. They see me only as a leader, a figure to admire, but never as someone who carries the same fears they do. Ethan sees me differently. He does not look at me as a symbol. He looks at me as I am." The tall figure's eyes narrowed. "A bond with a human will not hold. His body is not made for our energy. If you continue, both of you may be undone." Ethan swallowed hard. The words were meant as warning, but they sounded more like prophecy. Still, he said nothing. He had promised not to walk away, Lyra's expression grew firmer. "You speak of weakness," she said, her voice strong enough to echo off the stone walls. "But I tell you this, humans carry what we have long forgotten: choice. They do not live by destiny alone. They choose, even when the path is impossible." The watchers shifted uneasily, their whispers rising again. Some sounded doubtful, others almost fearful. Ethan could not understand their full language, but he knew they were speaking of him. Finally, the tall figure turned its glowing eyes directly on Ethan. "Human, do you understand what lies before you? If you complete this bond, you will not remain as you are. You will not return unchanged. Do you still choose to stay?" Ethan felt the weight of the question press deep into his chest. His thoughts raced, but when he looked at Lyra, he saw the faint tremble in her hands, the quiet hope in her gaze. She was waiting for his answer, not as a leader, not as a symbol, but as someone who needed him. He straightened his back and spoke, his voice steady. "I choose to stay," I promised her, "and I will not break it." The chamber grew silent, even. The hum of the sanctuary seemed to pause. Then, slowly, the tall figure stepped back, its cloak rippling like smoke. "So be it," it said at last. "But know this, human, if the bond completes, the path of two worlds may shift forever." The watchers melted into the shadows once again, leaving Ethan and Lyra alone within the glowing stones. The silence that followed felt heavier than before, filled with questions neither of them could yet answer. Ethan turned to Lyra, his brow furrowed. What did they mean? Why would this change to worlds? Lyra's shoulders dropped slightly, as though the strength she had shown in front of the watchers was finally fading. She took a step closer, her voice quieter now. "Because the bond is more than survival. It is not only energy, we share it as spirit, memory, and truth. If it completes between us, you will not be only human, and I will not be only of my kind. We will become something else." Her words sent a shiver through him. The weight of what he had stepped into was clearer now, yet instead of fear, he felt a strange calm settling over him. "I don't fully understand," he admitted, "but if it means helping you, I'll see it through." Her lips curved into the faintest smile, her silver eyes softening. "You speak as if it is simple. Perhaps that is why the sanctuary does not reject you." The stones around them pulsed once again, brighter now, as if answering her words. The hum deepened, and Ethan felt the energy return, stronger than before. His breath quickened, but this time he did not fight it. He let it flow through him. Steady and endless, Lyra closed her eyes, her glow spreading wider, weaving into the air like threads of light. She whispered words in her language, words Ethan could not understand, but their sound was calming, like water flowing over stone dot. As the energy grew, he felt the bond tightening, pulling him closer to her. And deep inside, he knew the watchers had been right about one thing. Whatever this was, it would not end with only the two of them. Something far greater was unfolding, something that could not be undone. The air inside the sanctuary shimmered. Like a veil of water, Ethan stood with his hand still locked in Lyra's, and the light between them refused to fade. Instead, it grew brighter, pushing deep into the walls, making the stones glow as though alive. Every breath he took seemed to pull him closer to her, until he no longer knew where his energy ended and hers began. But then something shifted. Ethan's chest tightened suddenly, as though the bond itself was testing him. His knees wavered, his breath quickened. He pressed his free hand against the stone floor to steady himself, but the energy only grew heavier. He felt as though invisible waves were pressing against his body, asking him to surrender. "Ethan." Lyra's voice was gentle but strained. "Do not fight it. Let it move through you." I'm trying," he said, his voice rough, his vision blurred at the edges. Shapes of light twisted and stretched, showing him glimpses of things he could not explain. He saw flashes of stars, vast oceans, towers of silver stone, and beings whose faces shifted like flowing water. They were her memories, her truths, bleeding into his mind. At the same time, his own memories began to stir: his childhood, his family, the endless nights of wondering whether he belonged anywhere. To his shock, he felt Lyra inside those memories, watching, listening, not as a stranger but as if she had always been there. He gasped, "You can see everything." Her silver eyes opened slowly, glowing brighter. Yes, and you can see me. For a moment, he felt exposed, as though every secret part of him had been uncovered. But along with that came something unexpected. Peace. She did not judge. She did not turn away. Instead, she reached deeper, showing him her loneliness, her endless burden as one expected to lead without being understood. Their bond was no longer just energy, it was truth shared without walls. But the strain was immense. Ethan's body trembled, sweat beating along his brow. He heard faint whispers again, not from the watchers, but from the sanctuary itself. The stones seemed to speak, their hum weaving into words. One breaks, the other holds. One falters, the other rises. Together, or not at all. Lyra looked around sharply. Is the core speaking? Ethan, the sanctuary is testing you. His chest tightened further, his heart racing. Testing me. For what? For worth, she said. Her voice hushed but steady. It must know if you can bear the bond without losing yourself. If you cannot, the energy will burn away what you are. Her words struck him like a storm, but she did not release his hand. Instead, she gripped tighter, her light wrapping around him like a shield. I will not let you fall, she whispered. The force pressed harder. Ethan closed his eyes, fighting the instinct to resist. Every time he tried to push against it, the pain worsened. His breaths came faster, his body threatening to give in. Then, slowly, he remembered her earlier words. Do not fight it. Let it move through you. He loosened his hold on fear. He stopped pushing back, and in that surrender, the pain shifted. What had been crushing became flowing, like a river moving through him rather than against him. The visions cleared, and he stood at least in his mind in a vast space filled with stars. Lyra was there too, standing before him not as a glowing figure but simply herself, her eyes soft, her presence steady. This is the heart of the bond, she said. We are no longer separate. Your strength feeds mine, and my strength holds you. But you must choose. Do you step forward fully, or turn back now? Ethan's throat felt dry, but the answer rose in him without doubt. I stepped forward. Lyra's smile was faint, but her voice carried warmth. Then together we will not break. The sanctuary pulsed brighter than ever, filling every corner of the chamber with light. The watchers, hidden in the shadows, stirred uneasily, their whispers hushed by the power surging around Ethan and Lyra. For the first time, it was not her glow alone that lit the chamber. His body, too, carried a faint radiance, subtle but undeniable. As the light slowly calmed, Ethan opened his eyes. His chest no longer hurt. The tremble in his limbs was gone. He felt changed, though he could not yet name how. Lyra looked at him carefully, her gaze filled with something between relief and awe. You held, Ethan. The sanctuary accepts you. He let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. I thought I was going to break. You almost did, she admitted softly. Then she placed her hand gently over his heart. But even in breaking, you chose to rise. The bond still pulsed faintly between them, steady and alive. And though Ethan did not yet know where it would lead, he sensed that the true test was only beginning. The chamber was still glowing softly when Ethan finally let go of a long breath. The silence was different now, no longer heavy, no longer filled with whispers of doubt. Instead, it carried a hum, almost like the calm heartbeat of something vast and alive. He touched the stone wall, and for the first time, it felt warm beneath his hand, as though it recognized him. Lyra stood close, her silver eyes steady on him. She looked relieved, but there was also something deeper in her gaze, an understanding that the choice they had made together could not be undone. The bond between them had settled, quiet but unbreakable, and Ethan felt it with every step, every thought. You feel it too, don't you? She asked softly. He nodded, like a thread that connects us, not pulling, not forcing, just there. Lyra gave the faintest smile. That is because we are no longer separate. My strength is yours, and your courage flows into me. The sanctuary has accepted you. But Ethan, her voice lowered, the outside world may not. Even before she finished speaking, the shadows in the chamber stirred again. The watchers revealed themselves more clearly this time, stepping forward with graceful, silent movements. Their forms were tall and slender, their robes shimmering as though woven from the night sky itself. They did not speak at first, only observed, their eyes bright, unblinking, studied Ethan with both wonder and unease. Finally, one of them raised a hand. The voice that followed was like wind moving through hollow stone. "The human stands. The bond is real," another replied, sharper in tone. "But is it wise? A bond with one not of our kind has never been written. It changes more than her fate. It changes ours." The room grew colder. Ethan felt the unease pressing against his chest, but he did not look away. Instead, he stepped slightly closer to Lyra, sensing that whatever came next, they would face it together. Lyra lifted her chin. "The sanctuary chose him. You saw it. You felt it. His spirit held where many of ours would have fallen." The first watcher tilted their head. "Yes, but the question remains, can he carry what comes next? If he fails, you fall with him." Ethan's voice was quiet, but steady. "Then test me again if you must, but don't mistake my humanity for weakness. I didn't come here to abandon her." For the first time, the watchers seemed unsettled by his words. Their whispers rippled through the chamber, sharp and quick, until one final voice spoke above the rest. "Very well, if the bond has formed, it cannot be undone, but it will not remain hidden. Outside these walls, others will sense it, and not all will welcome it." The sanctuary light dimmed slowly, leaving only the faint glow of the stones and the thread of warmth between Ethan and Lyra. The watchers dissolved back into shadow, leaving the two of them alone again. Silence returned, but it was no longer peaceful. It carried the weight of what was to come. Ethan turned to Lyra. "They don't trust this, do they?" "No," she said, her voice soft but firm. "To them, the bond is a risk. To me, it is the only hope I have." Her hand brushed lightly against his, and the bond pulsed once more, warm and alive. When they stepped out of the sanctuary, the world outside felt sharper. The skies above shimmered with twin moons, casting pale light over towers that stretched like silver spears into the clouds. But even as Ethan tried to take in the beauty, he noticed the way others looked at him now. Those who passed by paused, their gazes flicking toward Lyra, then toward him, with curiosity and unease. "They can sense it," Lyra whispered. "The bond leaves a mark, even if unseen. They know something has changed." Ethan swallowed, his heart beating faster. "So what happens now?" She walked beside him, her expression unreadable, though her eyes softened when she looked at him. "Now, the test moves beyond walls. The bond is strong within the sanctuary. But out here, where doubt, fear, and envy live, we will see if it can survive." For the first time since stepping into this journey, Ethan realized the bond was not just about them. It was about entire worlds watching, waiting, and deciding what this connection between a human and an alien truly meant. And deep down, he knew this was only the beginning of a much larger trial.